Alright everybody, so gonna go through something called Bohr models today. You'll notice I've kind of got the PowerPoint up and editable, and that's because I want to be able to kind of draw on it and you see me go through the process of creating a Bohr model. So let's go ahead and get started. First off, what is a Bohr model? All a Bohr model is a visual representation of an atom. It's like a snapshot or a picture of an atom. The important thing that it does is it shows us like a predicted layout of electrons. The thing to kind of keep in the back of your mind, though, is that since we can't see an atom with our own eyes, it's really hard to say, like, hey, yeah, this is the right way that an atom looks. And when you take chemistry, you'll find out that there's a lot of different representations of how atoms look. But Bohr models are kind of widely accepted as like a baseline, kind of an introduction to understanding how, like what atomic structure is. And so that's why we're going to talk about it. So there are 3 steps to drawing a Bohr model. The first one is to draw the nucleus as a circle. Literally, just draw a circle and color it in. That's it. That's your nucleus. Remember that the nucleus is where the protons and the neutrons are located. And if you don't remember that, turn this video off and go watch the notes from before spring break. Because we do need to know all of that good stuff in order to be successful with Bohr models. The second step to drawing a Bohr model is adding the energy shells, or the rings. Might sound kind of weird. If we look at this picture, you'll notice, like, here's your nucleus, and here's a ring, and here's a ring. We've got 2 circles, 1, 2, outside of the nucleus. How do we figure out how many rings we need to put? Well, that's why we care about the periodic table and finding the period of an element. So by figuring out what element, like what period an element is in, we're able to determine how many rings it has. The third and final step, and I know I'm kind of going through these really fast, we're going to go through lots of examples. I just kind of want to run through the steps first. The third and final step is to add the electrons as dots. So, sounds kind of weird right now, but look, literally there's just a bunch of dots on these circles, right? So we'll add the electrons as dots. And remember that electrons are equal to the atomic number. We get that from APE-Man, APE. Atomic number is protons and electrons. There's a couple of special rules that we need to take into account when we're drawing Bohr models. The first one is that the most inside ring, so the ring that's the closest to the nucleus, can never hold more than 2 electrons. Never ever will it hold more than 2 electrons. From that, from that ring on out, we go ahead and put up to 8 electrons. So let's say, like neon, for example, this first ring, look, they only put 2 dots on it. Then, the next ring, they put 8 dots on it. Then, last special rule, start filling the rings from the inside working out. So 2 electrons always go in the first ring, first thing. So, let's go through a few examples, a couple more visuals. If you forgot how to find period, this is a quick reminder. To find the number of rings, you're going to look at the period. So let's say we were finding it for lithium. Lithium is right here. I see it's in period number 2, so it would get 2 rings. All right, let's do some practice. So, draw a Bohr model for lithium. I want to start by just writing out my rules, my steps, so I don't forget. 1, draw the nucleus. 2, draw the rings. 3, draw the electrons as dots. Okay, those are kind of my 3 steps. If I follow those 3 things, I should be able to successfully draw a Bohr model for lithium. So, draw the nucleus. Remember, that's just a circle. So, there's my circle. I'll make it blue. Why not? All right, draw the rings. How do I determine how many rings there are? Well, I need to figure out the period. So I go back, I look for lithium on the periodic table. It's right here. I see that lithium is in not the first period, but the second period. So I would add 2 rings. So there's 1. Gotta make that transparent. 1 ring. And here is 2 rings. Alright. Sorry if that's a little small. I'll make it a bit bigger. There's ring. Oh, now it doesn't want to let me pick the smaller ones. Anyways, I've got a nucleus, and I've got 2 rings surrounding the nucleus. Now what do I do? What's my step? I draw the electrons as dots. So, how many electrons does lithium have? Let's look. Lithium's atomic number is 3. So, lithium would get 3 electrons. So I'm going to write that down. 3 electrons. Alright, I need to draw those as dots. Man, this is really uneven. Make it smaller. Alright, draw the electrons as dots. I'm just going to grab like a small circle. Color it in. Alright, so I'm going to put these dots on my lithium model. So I've got my 3 electrons. To follow the rules, 2 have to go on the most inside circle, because I start from the inside and work my way out. So I put 2 dots on the most inside circle. Then I put 1 dot, whatever's left, right there. And that is my Bohr model for lithium. Alright, let's do it again. Draw the Bohr model for oxygen. What are my steps? Step 1, draw a nucleus. Step 2, whoops, can't spell. Step 2, draw rings. Step 3, draw electrons. Okay, got my steps. Let's start with a nucleus. Shapes. Just going to do a little circle. Leave it as gray, I guess. Draw the rings. Alright, so oxygen. Where's oxygen at on this periodic table? Oxygen is right here. So that means oxygen is in the 1, 2. Oxygen is in the second period. If you're having trouble finding periods, go watch the review video I posted on Monday. So oxygen is in the second period. So what that means is it should get 2 rings. I'm going to write that down. And let's put the rings on there. Alright, there's 1. And here's 2. Okay, great. Drew my rings. Got nucleus, ring 1, and ring 2. Now, let's take a look at electrons. Oh, sorry, I went to the other periodic table. Oxygen's right here. I see that oxygen has an atomic number of 8, which means it would have 8 electrons. So, let's go ahead, get our electrons together. Shade it in. So there's 1 electron, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, so I need to place all of these. First off, how many can go on my first shell, my first ring? Only 2. Notice how I'm not putting them in the nucleus, I'm putting them on the first ring. And I can only put 2 there, it can only hold 2. It gets full after 2. Alright, so now my remaining electrons are going to have to go on the second shell. 1, 2, 3, whoa, 4, 5, and 6. Alright, so I've got, these should all be on the ring. Sorry if it looks like they're not. So now I've got all of my electrons on the ring. I've got my 2 rings, I've got my nucleus, good to go.